Laura Smith perched on the edge of the narrow bed in the tiny cell that had been her reluctant refuge for a decade. The soft morning light filtered through the barred window, casting intricate patterns of shadows on the cold concrete floor. Her heart raced as she took in the sight of her surroundings for the final time. Every inch of that confined space was a tapestry of torment and, oddly enough, occasional moments of peace. She thought of Alina, the wise older woman who had once saved her life and become her guiding light. Today, Laura felt an overwhelming blend of exhilaration and trepidation. The long-anticipated yet dreaded day of her liberation had arrived. She was about to step into a world vastly transformed during her years of incarceration. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. Laura had few possessions to gather. With a modest bag in hand, she approached the cell door. She wore the same simple white shirt and faded jeans she had donned at the start of her sentence, garments that now felt like relics of a distant past. Each step she took reverberated through the frigid prison corridors, drawing the eyes of fellow inmates. "Good luck," Laura called out one of them, a woman with whom she had shared countless nights of heartfelt conversations and mutual tears. Laura nodded and managed a faint smile, though her eyes brimmed with unspoken sorrow. She had forged deep connections with these women, her surrogate family, and parting from them was a bittersweet mix of liberation and grief. The prison gate creaked open with a harsh, metallic sound. Laura stepped into the blinding light outside, squinting against the sun's brilliance. The crisp air filled her lungs, a sensation she had almost forgotten existed. As she emerged, she glanced around. The absence of any welcoming face struck her deeply. Her mother, the sole person who would have eagerly awaited her release, had passed away the year before. The weight of solitude settled heavily upon her. She had no knowledge of her father, and with her mother gone, she faced an overwhelming sense of isolation. Laura's future lay ahead, an uncharted territory filled with uncertainties. The outside world, now unfamiliar and daunting, awaited her first steps. She had to navigate this new life alone, carrying the scars of her past, but also the hope of new beginnings. With resolve, Laura boarded a bus bound for the city, choosing a seat by the window to watch the rapidly changing scenery. The vast open fields and distant mountains provided a fleeting sense of tranquility, yet her mind was a whirlwind of doubts and fears about the unknown future. As the bus sped along, Laura cried silently, the tears a release of the pent-up emotions from years of fear and pain in prison. Despite the overwhelming memories, she also recalled the strength she had discovered within herself. Her former career as a nurse now seemed like a distant, unattainable dream, overshadowed by the stigma of her ex-convict status. As the bus rumbled on, Laura's thoughts drifted back to the events that had led to her incarceration. Diego, the man she had loved and trusted, had exploited her position as a nurse to gain access to apartment keys, subsequently using them to commit a series of robberies. When he was apprehended, Diego betrayed her, falsely accusing her of orchestrating the crimes. The betrayal had shattered her, not only robbing her of her freedom but also inflicting deep emotional wounds from being used by someone she loved. Laura vividly recalled the trial, Diego's unflinching lies, and the moment the unjust verdict was delivered. In prison, she had sunk into despair, even attempting to end her life. It was Alina, an older inmate with her own tragic past, who had intervened, teaching Laura to find resilience amid suffering. "I can't let that betrayal define my life," Laura reminded herself. "I must find a way to move forward." Her heart was heavy with the memories of Diego's deceit and the overwhelming loneliness she had felt during her trial. She remembered the cold, indifferent faces of the jury and the smug look on Diego's face as he lied, painting her as the villain. The memory of the cell where she had contemplated ending it all haunted her, but so did the moments of unexpected solace and camaraderie with her fellow inmates. Alina's wisdom and strength had been a beacon in the darkest of times, helping Laura rediscover her own inner fortitude. Now, as the bus neared the city, Laura knew she faced a daunting journey. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but she was determined to reclaim her life and build a future on her terms. The fear of the unknown loomed large, but so did the hope of new beginnings. She was ready to confront her past, armed with the hard-earned wisdom and strength she had gained through her trials. Laura's resolve hardened with every mile, the city's skyline growing closer, signaling the start of her new chapter. Upon finally arriving at her childhood home, Laura was engulfed by a wave of nostalgia. The house stood forlorn, with the garden wild and untamed, and the paint weathered and peeling. She stepped inside, greeted by the musty smell of dampness and dust, a stark reminder of the years gone by. Tears welled up in her eyes as she took in the scene, deeply saddened by how much had changed in her absence. Yet, amid the pain, Laura resolved it was time to rebuild her life. She understood that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she was determined not to let her past dictate her future. As she wandered through the house, each step echoing in the empty rooms, Laura was hit with a mix of sorrow and determination. Memories of happier times flooded back, juxtaposed against the current state of neglect. But these memories also fueled her resolve. The broken foundations of her past did not have to define her destiny. She promised herself that she would transform this house and her life into something sturdy and hopeful. Laura moved through the house, room by room, assessing the damage and picturing the potential for renewal. The cracked walls and creaky floors spoke of abandonment, but she saw the possibility for restoration. Each corner held memories of her mother, the warmth and love that once filled these spaces. The loss of her mother was a deep wound, but it also ignited a fire within her to honor her memory by rebuilding what had been lost. She set her small bag down and rolled up her sleeves, ready to face the monumental task ahead. The overgrown garden would bloom again, the peeling paint would be replaced with fresh colors, and the dampness would be banished. Laura knew it wouldn't be easy. The journey of restoration paralleled her own path to healing and redemption. Every repair, every fresh coat of paint would be a step toward reclaiming her life and future. Laura's heart, though heavy with the weight of her past, was also filled with hope. She envisioned the house transformed, a symbol of her resilience and strength. She would turn this neglected, crumbling space into a sanctuary of peace and love. The house would once again be a place of warmth and comfort, reflecting the new beginning she was carving out for herself. With unwavering determination, Laura embraced the challenge, ready to build a future full of promise from the ruins of her past. The first day of Laura's freedom dawned bright and brimming with promises. She braced herself for the challenges ahead, resolved that this time nothing and no one would deter her. As Laura walked slowly through her old house, she observed every corner with a blend of nostalgia and sorrow. Dust blanketed the furniture, and the air felt heavy and stifling. Each room held echoes of a life before prison, a time that seemed to belong to someone else entirely. She stepped into her mother's bedroom and paused before the dresser, where a framed photo of the two of them smiled from happier times. She picked up the picture and held it tenderly, feeling a sharp pang in her heart. Her mother's loving and understanding face reminded her of all she had lost. While cleaning, Laura stumbled upon a wooden box hidden at the back of a closet. Inside, she found letters and old photographs, remnants of a simpler time. Among the papers, she discovered a letter that would change her life, a notification from a lawyer about an inheritance her mother had left her. The letter detailed a property in the countryside, a place Laura had never heard of. This revelation filled her with renewed hope. It was an opportunity to start afresh, away from the past that haunted her. The memories of her trial and conviction still burned vividly in her mind. She recalled how Diego, the man she had trusted completely, had betrayed her. Using the keys she had as a nurse, Diego accessed her patients' homes and robbed several apartments. When caught, he blamed her, casting her as the mastermind behind the thefts. The betrayal had shattered her, not only stripping her of her freedom but also wounding her deeply. The trial had been a nightmare. Diego's lawyers were ruthless, and without the means to defend herself properly, Laura was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Despair had driven her to attempt suicide, but an older inmate named Elena saved her at the last moment. Elena, who had accidentally killed her abusive husband and was serving a long sentence, became Laura's beacon during the darkest days. Her strength and wisdom taught Laura to find hope amid suffering and to refuse to let her past define her future. As Laura dusted off the memories and absorbed the weight of her surroundings, she knew this house was just the beginning. Each step she took inside its walls was a step towards reclaiming her life. The furniture, covered in dust, symbolized the years of neglect, yet Laura saw potential in every corner. The house, much like herself, had endured hardship and was now ready for renewal. With the letter in hand, Laura's heart swelled with a sense of possibility. The inheritance represented a chance to escape the shadows of her past and build something new and beautiful. The countryside property was a blank canvas, waiting for her to paint her future upon it. As she envisioned the new life ahead, she felt a surge of determination. She would turn this opportunity into a fresh start, a sanctuary far removed from the pain of her past. The journey to this point had been harrowing, marked by betrayal and unjust punishment. Diego's treachery and the grueling trial had tested her limits, but they had also forged a resilient spirit within her. Elena's guidance had been a lifeline, helping her navigate the depths of despair and emerge with newfound strength. Now, as Laura prepared to embark on this next chapter, she embraced both the pain and the hope that came with it. Her mother's memory, the inheritance, and the lessons from her time in prison all coalesced into a powerful motivation. Laura vowed to transform the broken pieces of her life into a foundation of strength and hope. With each step out of the house and towards the future, she carried the promise of redemption and the determination to redefine her destiny. Laura sank into the rickety sofa in the living room and closed her eyes, allowing the flood of memories to wash over her. Life in prison had been harsh, but it had also imparted valuable lessons. She had learned to be resilient, to endure the worst circumstances, and to find small joys amid adversity. Now, contemplating the inheritance letter, Laura felt a glimmer of a new opportunity. She resolved to investigate more about the property and see if it could truly offer the fresh start she desperately longed for. With a deep sigh, she rose from the sofa and began cleaning the house. Each corner she cleaned was a symbolic step towards her new life, a life she was determined not to let be defined by her past. She knew the road ahead would be challenging, but she was prepared to face it with unwavering courage and determination. The following days were consumed with tidying up the house and making plans for the future. While cleaning the attic, she unearthed more memories of her mother's small treasures that reminded her of the love and sacrifices her mother had always shown. Laura knew she couldn't change the past, but she could build a better future. The inheritance became a beacon of hope, a light at the end of the tunnel, guiding her towards a new life filled with promise and renewal. Each morning, Laura woke up early, the sun just peeking over the horizon, filling the house with a soft, warm glow. She had spent the last few days cleaning and organizing, trying to breathe new life into her home. The persistent dust and grime were constant reminders of years of neglect, but with every corner she cleaned, she felt she was also sweeping away the pain of her past. The living room was now free of dust, and the air felt lighter, more breathable. Laura found solace in the rhythm of cleaning, each swipe of the cloth a small victory over her history. She uncovered old photos, mementos of a life once lived with hope and love. These tangible pieces of her past filled her with a bittersweet sense of nostalgia, but also strengthened her resolve to honor her mother's memory by forging a better future. As she delved deeper into the details of the inherited property, Laura's excitement grew. It was a small cottage in the countryside, surrounded by fields and trees, a stark contrast to the confinement she had known for so long. The thought of starting anew in such a serene place filled her with hope. She imagined herself tending to a garden, breathing in the fresh country air, and living a life of peace and fulfillment. Determined to see this vision become a reality, Laura began making plans. She reached out to the lawyer mentioned in the letter, eager to learn more about the property and the legal steps she needed to take. With each passing day, her anticipation grew, fueled by the prospect of a new beginning. Laura's newfound determination was mirrored in her actions. She spent hours on the phone, arranging the necessary paperwork and researching the best ways to renovate the cottage. The work was exhausting, but it was also invigorating. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of purpose and direction. In the quiet moments of the evening, Laura would sit on the now clean sofa and allow herself to dream. She envisioned a future where she was free from the shadows of her past, a life where she could be herself without the weight of her previous mistakes. This dream gave her the strength to push through the difficult days and the courage to face the uncertainties of her new journey. The house, once a symbol of neglect and sorrow, began to transform. The rooms were now clean, the air fresh, and the space imbued with a renewed sense of hope. Laura's efforts to rebuild her home mirrored her internal transformation. She was no longer the woman defined by her past mistakes, but someone ready to embrace the possibilities of the future. As she prepared to move to the countryside, Laura felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The prospect of a new beginning was exhilarating, but it also brought with it the uncertainties of the unknown. However, she knew she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With her mother's memory as her guiding light and the lessons from her past as her strength, Laura set out on her journey towards a new life, filled with hope, promise, and the determination to succeed. That morning, with the lawyer's letter clutched tightly in her hand, Laura resolved to investigate the property her mother had left her. She boarded a bus to the city center and made her way to the office of the lawyer who had handled the inheritance. Upon arrival, she was welcomed by a warm and friendly secretary who guided her to a small waiting room. Laura sat, her eyes scanning the pictures on the walls as she tried to steady her nerves. After a few moments, a door opened and a kindly older man appeared, inviting her into his office. "Miss Smith, it's a pleasure to meet you," the lawyer said, extending his hand with a genuine smile. "I am Roberto White. Your mother was an extraordinary woman." Laura smiled shyly and took a seat. "Thank you, Mr. White. I'm here because I found a letter mentioning an inheritance. I had no idea about any of this." The lawyer nodded, opening a file on his desk. "Yes, your mother entrusted me with this information before she passed away. The property in question is a small country house, located about 2 hours from the city. It's a beautiful place, surrounded by nature. Your mother always wanted you to have a sanctuary away from the chaos." Laura listened intently, her heart swelling with a mixture of emotions. The thought of a peaceful refuge, a place to start anew, was both comforting and daunting. She could hardly believe that such a place existed and that it was now hers. "Mr. White continued, your mother was very clear in her wishes. She wanted you to have a place where you could find peace and rebuild your life. The house itself is modest but charming, with a large garden and a stunning view of the countryside. It's a perfect spot for someone looking to escape and start fresh." Laura's mind raced with possibilities. The idea of a country house, far removed from the noise and stress of the city, seemed like a dream come true. She imagined herself tending to a garden, surrounded by the serene beauty of nature, and felt a surge of hope. "Is there anything I need to do to take possession of the property?" Laura asked, eager to move forward with her plans. "Just a few formalities, Mr. White replied, handing her a set of documents. "I'll need your signature on these papers, and then the property will officially be yours. I've also included some information about the house and the surrounding area. It's a wonderful community, very welcoming." Laura signed the documents with a steady hand, feeling a sense of finality and new beginnings. As she finished, Mr. White smiled warmly. "Congratulations, Miss Smith. Your mother would be very proud of you. I wish you all the best in your new journey." "Thank you, Mr. White," Laura said, her voice filled with gratitude. "This means more to me than you can imagine." As she left the office, Laura felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The inheritance was more than just a piece of property, it was a chance to rebuild her life, to create a future filled with hope and promise. She boarded the bus back home, her mind buzzing with plans and dreams. Over the next few days, Laura meticulously prepared for her move. She packed her belongings, making sure to take the cherished mementos of her mother. Each item she packed was a step closer to her new life. The anticipation of a fresh start invigorated her, giving her the strength to push through the lingering fears and doubts. When the day finally came to visit the country house, Laura felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The journey took her through scenic routes, with rolling hills and lush greenery that seemed to welcome her. As the bus approached her destination, she felt a growing sense of peace. Arriving at the property, Laura was struck by its beauty. The house was quaint, with a cozy charm that immediately felt like home. The garden, though overgrown, held the promise of blooming with life once again. She walked through the rooms, envisioning the changes she would make, the new memories she would create. Standing in the middle of the living room, Laura felt a surge of emotion. This house, this gift from her mother, was the beginning of her new life. She vowed to honor her mother's memory by filling this home with love, laughter, and hope. With determination and a renewed sense of purpose, Laura began her journey of transformation. The path ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, she felt ready to face it. The inheritance was not just a house, it was a beacon of hope, guiding her towards a future brimming with possibilities. Laura felt a surge of surprise and gratitude, unable to fathom a more meaningful gift from her mother. "Could you give me more details?" she asked eagerly. Mr. White handed her all the necessary documents along with a comprehensive description of the property. The more she learned, the more she felt a growing excitement about the future. Laura thanked him sincerely and headed back home, clutching the papers that symbolized a new beginning. Upon returning home, Laura's phone rang unexpectedly. It was Marta, a childhood friend she hadn't seen in years. They had lost touch when Laura was imprisoned, but Marta had always been kind and understanding. "Laura, I can't believe you're finally out. How are you?" Marta's voice was filled with genuine warmth and concern. Overwhelmed by the unexpected contact and the kindness in Marta's voice, Laura briefly recounted her current situation. "It hasn't been easy, but I'm trying to start over," she confessed. "Listen," Marta said, her tone becoming more excited. "I have an offer for you. I know you need a job, and I have an opportunity that might interest you. A wealthy family is looking for a caregiver for their son. It's a well-paying job, and I think you'd be perfect for it." Laura felt a wave of emotions: relief at the prospect of employment, gratitude for Marta's thoughtfulness, and a bit of trepidation about taking on a new responsibility so soon. "That sounds amazing, Marta. Thank you so much for thinking of me. Can you tell me more about it?" "Of course," Marta replied. "The family lives not too far from where you are. Their son, Jamie, has special needs, and they're looking for someone compassionate and reliable. I know you have experience from your nursing days, and I think you'd be a great fit. Plus, they offer flexible hours and good pay." Laura felt a spark of hope. This job could provide the stability she needed while she figured out her next steps. "I'm really interested, Marta. How can I apply?" "I'll set up an interview for you," Marta said. "You can meet them tomorrow morning. Just bring your documents and a positive attitude. I'm sure they'll love you." "Thank you, Marta. This means the world to me," Laura said, her voice filled with emotion. don't mention it. I'm just happy to help. I'll text you the details. Good luck, Laura. I know you'll do great." After the call, Laura sat in silence for a moment, absorbing the turn of events. She now had two significant opportunities: the inheritance and the job offer. Both held the promise of a fresh start and a chance to rebuild her life. That evening, Laura prepared for the next day with a mix of nervousness and excitement. She carefully reviewed the property documents and made a list of questions for her visit. She also gathered her resume and other necessary papers for the job interview. The next morning, Laura woke up early, filled with determination. She dressed neatly and took the bus to the countryside to see the property. The journey was serene, and as she neared the location, her heart lifted at the sight of the charming country house. It was even more beautiful than she had imagined, surrounded by lush greenery and a peaceful atmosphere. Walking through the house, Laura felt a deep connection to the place. It was as if her mother had chosen this sanctuary just for her, a place where she could heal and rebuild. She made mental notes of the repairs needed and the potential it held for becoming a true home. After spending a few hours at the property, Laura returned to the city for her job interview. She arrived at the family's home with a sense of hope. Meeting Jamie and his parents, she felt an instant rapport. Jamie's parents were kind and understanding, and they seemed genuinely interested in Laura's background and experience. The interview went smoothly, and by the end, Jamie's parents offered her the job. Laura accepted with gratitude, feeling a newfound sense of purpose and stability. As she left their home, Laura felt a wave of relief and excitement. She had taken significant steps towards rebuilding her life. With the inheritance and the new job, the future no longer seemed daunting but filled with possibilities. That night, as she lay in bed, Laura reflected on the day's events. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunities that had come her way and the support from friends like Marta. With a determined heart and a hopeful spirit, she looked forward to embracing her new life, ready to turn the pages of her past into a story of resilience and renewal. Laura fell silent, absorbing the information. A well-paying job might be just what she needed to stabilize her life while she investigated the inheritance. "Are they willing to hire someone with my history?" she asked, her voice tinged with doubt. "I talked to them about you, and they're willing to give you a chance. They're a compassionate family, and they need someone with your skills," Marta reassured her. Gratefully, Laura accepted the offer, and they agreed to meet the next day for more details. That night, she felt, for the first time in a long while, as if she had a clear purpose and direction. The next morning, Laura made her way to the address Marta had given her. She arrived at an imposing mansion surrounded by perfectly manicured gardens. The grandeur of the place was intimidating, but she took a deep breath and knocked on the door. The door was opened by an older woman with a severe yet kind appearance. "Welcome, Miss Smith. I am Mrs. Johnson, the housekeeper of the Lopez family. Please come in." Laura was led to an elegant living room where a middle-aged man awaited her. "Good morning. I'm Daniel Lopez," the man said, shaking Laura's hand. "Thank you for coming. Marta has spoken very highly of you." Laura smiled nervously. "Thank you for giving me this opportunity, Mr. Lopez." Daniel nodded and sat down, inviting her to do the same. "My son, Andrew, had an accident 2 years ago that left him paralyzed. He has been through a lot, and we need someone with experience in care and rehabilitation. Marta told me you were a nurse before all this." Laura nodded, feeling a mix of sadness and determination. "Yes, sir. I was a nurse, and I have experience in care and rehabilitation. I'm willing to give my best to help Andrew." Daniel observed her for a moment before smiling slightly. "I believe everyone deserves a second chance. I hope you can help my son. Mrs. Johnson will show you around the house and explain your responsibilities." Laura followed Mrs. Johnson through the mansion, impressed by its size and elegance. Finally, they reached a large, bright room where a young man was sitting in a wheelchair, looking out the window. "Andrew, this is Laura, your new caregiver, Mrs." Johnson said softly. Andrew turned slowly, his gaze filled with distrust and pain. Laura was moved by the sadness in his eyes, but also felt a strong determination to help him. "Hello, Andrew. I'm Laura. I'm here to help you," she said with a warm smile. Andrew didn't respond, simply turning back to look out the window. Laura knew gaining his trust wouldn't be easy, but she was willing to try with all her might. Laura woke up early in her new room at the Lopez mansion. The bed was soft and comfortable, a stark contrast to the hard prison bunks. Despite the comfort, she couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place in such a luxurious environment. She took a moment to remind herself why she was there to help Andrew and, in doing so, to build a new beginning for herself. After getting dressed, she went downstairs and headed to the kitchen. Mrs. Johnson was already there, preparing breakfast. "Good morning, Laura," greeted Mrs. Johnson with a smile. "Good morning. I hope you slept well, Mrs. Johnson replied. "Yes, thank you," said Laura, returning the smile. "Is there anything specific I should know for today?" "Yes, Mr. Lopez wants to talk to you before you start with Andrew. He's in his study, Mrs. Johnson said, placing a plate of eggs and toast on the table. "Eat something first. You'll need the energy." Laura nodded and sat down to eat, grateful for Mrs. Johnson's hospitality. After breakfast, she headed to Daniel Lopez's study, feeling a mix of nerves and determination. Daniel greeted her with a kind smile and invited her to sit. "Laura, I want to thank you again for taking this job. I know it won't be easy, but I trust you can make a difference in my son's life." "Thank you, Mr. Lopez. I appreciate the opportunity, and I will do my best to help Andrew," Laura replied sincerely. Daniel leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. Andrew has been through a lot, and he can be difficult to reach. He needs someone patient and compassionate. I believe you can be that person. Laura nodded, feeling the weight of his words. "I understand. I'll take it one day at a time and do everything I can to support him." "That's all I can ask for," Daniel said. "Take some time to get to know him and build trust. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask." Laura left the study with a renewed sense of purpose. She spent the day familiarizing herself with Andrew's routine and trying to find ways to connect with him. She noticed the small things that brought a flicker of interest to his eyes, the moments when he seemed more open to interaction. As days turned into weeks, Laura's persistence began to pay off. She slowly earned Andrew's trust, finding common ground and creating a bond through shared experiences. They talked about his interests, watched movies together, and spent time in the garden. Laura's patience and genuine care started to break through Andrew's shell, revealing glimpses of the vibrant young man he used to be. Through it all, Laura found herself healing too. Her work with Andrew became a source of strength and fulfillment, a way to prove to herself and others that she was more than her past. The mansion, once intimidating, became a place of growth and renewal. One evening, as they sat in the garden watching the sunset, Andrew turned to Laura and said, "Thank you for being here. I know I haven't been easy to deal with, but you've made a big difference in my life." Laura smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. "It's been my privilege, Andrew. We're in this together." With the support of the Lopez family and the promise of the countryside inheritance, Laura felt she was finally on the path to building a new life. She embraced each day with determination and hope, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. "Thank you, Mr. Lopez. I promise to give my utmost effort," Laura replied earnestly, her voice steady with determination. Andrew has been deeply despondent since his accident. He used to be such an active and spirited young man, and the loss of his mobility has shattered him. He needs someone who can care for his physical needs while also uplifting him emotionally. Marta spoke highly of your strength and compassion. And I believe those qualities are exactly what Andrew needs, Daniel explained, his voice brimming with hope and a touch of desperation. Laura nodded, fully grasping the gravity of the task before her. I will do everything in my power to help him rediscover his spark and regain some semblance of his former life, she vowed, her eyes reflecting a blend of resolve and empathy. I know you will. Now, Mrs. Johnson will take you to the exercise room where you'll start working with Andrew today. Best of luck, Laura, Daniel said, offering an encouraging smile that bolstered her spirit. Laura left the study and followed Mrs. Johnson through the expansive mansion to a large, sunlit exercise room filled with modern equipment. Andrew was already there, sitting in his wheelchair, his eyes fixed despondently on the treadmill before him. Hello, Andrew, Laura greeted him warmly, her smile radiating genuine care. We'll begin with some gentle exercises today. I want to assess your current physical condition so we can tailor the plan to your specific needs. Andrew didn't respond immediately. His face was a mask of distrust and apathy, but Laura remained undeterred. She approached him with gentle persistence and began to explain the exercises. Let's start with some stretches for your arms and legs. This will improve your circulation and keep your muscles active, she said, demonstrating the movements. Andrew watched her for a moment, then, with a weary sigh, began to follow her instructions. Laura worked with him patiently, offering encouragement with each small progress. Though initially resistant, Andrew slowly began to cooperate more as the session progressed. Laura could see that beneath his layers of pain and frustration lay a reservoir of great inner strength. She resolved that her approach would need to be as much emotional as it was physical. Andrew, I know this is incredibly difficult, but I want you to know that I'm here for you every step of the way. You're not alone in this, Laura said, her voice filled with unwavering support as she looked him directly in the eyes. Andrew held her gaze for a long moment before giving a slight nod. It was a small gesture, but for Laura, it signified a significant breakthrough. She knew that gaining his trust would be a gradual process, but she was committed to the journey. The first exercise session concluded, and Laura assisted Andrew back to his room. Afterwards, she sought out Mrs. Johnson to learn more about Andrew's daily routine and specific needs. He's a resilient young man, but he has endured so much. He needs someone who can help him envision a future beyond his current limitations, Mrs. Johnson said with a note of hope. I believe you can be that person, Laura. Feeling the weight of the responsibility yet encouraged by the trust placed in her, Laura returned to her new room that evening. She reflected on the day's events, feeling both the challenges and the potential rewards of her new role. The luxurious surroundings still felt foreign, but her purpose here was clear: to help Andrew heal, both physically and emotionally, and in doing so, to find her own path to redemption. In the days that followed, Laura immersed herself in her work with Andrew, each session becoming a blend of physical rehabilitation and emotional support. She celebrated small victories and offered solace during setbacks. With each passing day, she noticed subtle changes in Andrew: a flicker of hope in his eyes, a hint of trust in his demeanor. Laura's commitment never wavered. She spent hours researching new techniques and strategies, always looking for ways to enhance Andrew's progress. She knew the journey would be long and arduous, but every step forward, no matter how small, was a testament to their shared determination. One afternoon, after a particularly successful session, Andrew turned to Laura and said, "Thank you for believing in me. I didn't think I could feel this hopeful again." Tears welled up in Laura's eyes as she replied, "It's your strength that's inspiring me, Andrew. We're in this together, and I believe in you more than ever." Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, and the mansion, once an intimidating space, transformed into a place of healing and hope. Laura's role in Andrew's recovery became a beacon of light in her own life, guiding her towards a future filled with promise and purpose. Laura thanked her for the encouraging words and mentally prepared for the work ahead. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but every small progress Andrew made would be a victory. That night, Laura went to bed with a renewed sense of purpose. She knew the road would be long and full of challenges, but she was determined to help Andrew find his strength again. In the process, she hoped to find her own. The Lopez mansion, with all its grandeur, was becoming a place of new beginnings for both of them. Laura woke up early the next day, ready for another day at the Lopez mansion. She had spent much of the previous night thinking about Andrew and how she could help him overcome his despondency. She knew she would need patience and perseverance to reach him, but she was determined not to give up. After a quick breakfast, Laura headed to the exercise room, where Andrew was already waiting for her. His expression was serious, and there was a shadow of distrust in his eyes. Laura decided that to earn his trust, she needed to be completely honest and open with him. "Good morning, Andrew," she greeted with a smile. "How are you feeling today?" Andrew looked at her with indifference and shrugged. "The same as always," he responded dryly. Laura decided not to push him and started the session with the basic exercises they had done the previous day. As they worked, she tried to start a conversation to get to know him better. "Andrew, I know this is hard for you, but I'd like to know more about you. Tell me something about yourself, about your interests before the accident," she suggested, hoping to break through his wall of silence. Andrew sighed, obviously reluctant to talk. But after a few moments of silence, he began to speak in a low voice. "I liked running. I was a marathoner. I competed in races and had a group of friends I trained with every day. That was before." He trailed off, looking away, his voice laden with bitterness. Laura felt empathy for him. She understood what it meant to lose something so important, something that defined a large part of your life. That must have been incredible. "Running marathons requires great discipline and determination," she said with admiration. "Maybe you can't run now, but that same discipline can help you in your rehabilitation. You are a strong person, Andrew." Andrew didn't respond, but Laura noticed a slight softening in his expression. They continued with the exercises in silence, but there was a subtle change in the atmosphere. Laura knew they had taken a small step forward. Later, as she helped Andrew back to his room, Laura decided to try another approach. "I've been thinking about some exercises we could try. We could include some yoga and meditation to help you relax and improve your flexibility. What do you think?" she suggested. Andrew frowned. "Yoga? I've never done it before. I'm not sure I'll like it," he replied with a touch of skepticism. "We can try it and see how you feel. If you don't like it, we can try something else. I'm here to help you find what works best for you," Laura said calmly. Andrew reluctantly agreed to give it a try. Laura felt encouraged by his willingness to try something new, even if it was with reservations. That afternoon, Laura prepared a yoga session in the mansion's garden. It was a quiet and serene place, perfect for relaxing and focusing. When Andrew arrived, Laura had already set everything up. They started with simple exercises, focusing on breathing and gentle movements. "Take a deep breath, Andrew. Let the tension go with each exhale," Laura guided him in a soft voice. Andrew followed her instructions, though somewhat clumsily at first. However, as they progressed, he began to relax a little more. Laura noticed how his usually tense and rigid body began to loosen slightly. "You're doing very well, Andrew. Keep it up," she encouraged him, smiling. By the end of the session, Andrew seemed surprisingly calm. Laura hoped that this new activity could help him not only physically but also emotionally. "Thank you, Laura. It wasn't as bad as I thought," Andrew admitted with a small smile. I'm glad you liked it. We can keep practicing and see how you feel, Laura replied, satisfaction evident in her voice at the progress made. The afternoon concluded with a shared sense of accomplishment. Laura understood that their journey was just beginning and that many challenges lay ahead, but each small step forward felt like a significant victory. As Andrew returned to his room, Laura lingered in the garden for a moment, savoring the tranquility and reflecting on the day's events. She was beginning to feel confident that she could genuinely make a difference in Andrew's life, and in doing so, she was also discovering her own path to redemption and a fresh start. The Lopez mansion, with all its opulence, was becoming a beacon of hope for both her and Andrew. Days at the Lopez mansion began to follow a comforting routine. Laura would wake up early to prepare the day's exercise session for Andrew. Gradually, the dynamic between them began to shift. Though Andrew initially resisted, each session saw him becoming more open and cooperative. Laura felt that she was slowly dismantling the emotional walls he had erected around his heart. One morning, while they were stretching in the garden, Laura decided to broach a subject she had been hesitant to address. "Andrew, I know talking about your accident is incredibly painful, but I think it's important for us to discuss it. Understanding your feelings might help us move forward," she said softly, her tone filled with gentle reassurance. Andrew's reaction was immediate. His body tensed, and a deep frown etched across his face. "I don't want to talk about that," he replied coldly, averting his gaze to avoid hers. Laura took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his resistance. She knew this conversation was crucial, but also understood it would need to be approached with the utmost sensitivity. "I understand, Andrew. I'm not here to push you, but I want you to know that whenever you're ready, I'm here to listen. Talking might help ease some of the burden you're carrying," she said, her voice unwavering and compassionate. Andrew remained silent, his eyes fixed on a distant point in the garden. Laura decided to let the matter rest for now, focusing instead on the exercises. She continued to offer words of encouragement and praise for his efforts, hoping that, over time, he would find the strength to open up. As the days passed, Laura noticed subtle changes in Andrew. He began to share small details about his interests and past experiences, slowly letting her into his world. Their conversations became more frequent and heartfelt, laying the foundation for a deeper connection. One evening, after a particularly good session, Andrew turned to Laura and said, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Laura smiled warmly, her heart swelling with pride and affection. "I would never give up on you, Andrew. We're in this together, and I believe in you." The mansion, once a place of luxury and formality, had transformed into a sanctuary of healing and hope. Laura's presence brought a sense of warmth and optimism, not just for Andrew, but for everyone in the household. Her dedication and compassion were slowly but surely making a profound impact. As weeks turned into months, the bond between Laura and Andrew grew stronger. They supported each other through setbacks and celebrated each victory, no matter how small. The journey was far from over, but together they faced each challenge with resilience and hope. Laura's unwavering commitment to Andrew's recovery and her own journey of self-redemption intertwined, creating a powerful story of healing and transformation. The Lopez mansion had indeed become a place of new beginnings, where past pains were confronted and future possibilities were embraced. Every morning brought new challenges and opportunities for growth, and with each passing day, Laura and Andrew proved that with love, support, and determination, they could overcome anything. Their story was one of resilience, hope, and the incredible human spirit's capacity to heal and flourish in even the most difficult circumstances. Laura approached and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "I understand it's difficult, but I'm here to listen. You don't have to carry this burden alone," she insisted, her voice filled with empathy. Andrew was silent for a moment, his gaze fixed on a distant point in the garden. Finally, he let out a deep sigh and began to speak. "It was a car accident, I was with my friends, coming back from a party. We had been drinking. It was my fault. I lost control of the car, and here I am," he said, his voice breaking slightly with the weight of his confession. Laura squeezed his shoulder, offering wordless comfort and understanding. "I'm very sorry for what happened, Andrew, but you can't blame yourself forever. What's important now is how you choose to move forward," she said firmly, looking into his eyes with unwavering support. Andrew nodded slowly, a shadow of sadness clouding his gaze. "I know. It's just difficult," he murmured, his voice tinged with regret and pain. Recognizing the rawness of his emotions, Laura decided not to push him further. They continued with the exercises in a comfortable silence, the atmosphere thick with unspoken understanding. However, Laura felt that this small advance was a significant breakthrough. Andrew had shared a part of his pain, and that was an important step towards healing. Later that day, as Laura reflected on their conversation, she realized the magnitude of what had transpired. Andrew had begun to open up, to share the heavy burden of his guilt and sorrow. It was a delicate, yet profound moment that marked the beginning of his emotional recovery. The following days were marked by a subtle but noticeable change in Andrew's demeanor. He seemed more engaged, more willing to participate in the exercises, and even initiated brief conversations. Laura continued to provide him with unwavering support and encouragement, celebrating each small victory as a significant milestone. One afternoon, while they were taking a break in the garden, Andrew turned to Laura and said, "Thank you for being here. I didn't think I could ever talk about the accident, but it feels like a weight has been lifted." Laura smiled warmly, her heart swelling with pride and affection. "I'm glad you feel that way, Andrew. You're not alone in this. We can face it together," she replied, her voice gentle yet resolute. As the weeks passed, their bond deepened. Andrew's trust in Laura grew, and he began to open up more about his feelings and fears. Laura, in turn, shared her own experiences and the lessons she had learned from her struggles, creating a mutual space of understanding and healing. The Lopez mansion, once an intimidating symbol of Andrew's confinement, had transformed into a sanctuary of recovery and hope. The rooms echoed with laughter and conversation, and the garden became a place of solace and reflection. Laura's journey from prisoner to mentor had come full circle, and she found immense fulfillment in helping Andrew reclaim his life. Each day she witnessed his transformation, his gradual acceptance of his past, and his renewed hope for the future. Their story became one of redemption and resilience, a testament to the power of human connection and the indomitable spirit of hope. Together they navigated the challenges, faced the fears, and embraced the possibilities that lay ahead. With each passing day, Laura and Andrew demonstrated that healing is a journey, not a destination. It requires patience, love, and the courage to confront the darkest parts of oneself. But most importantly, it showed that with support and determination, even the deepest wounds can begin to heal. As the sun set on another day of progress, Laura looked at Andrew and felt a profound sense of purpose and gratitude. They had both come so far, and the future, once shrouded in uncertainty, now gleamed with the promise of new beginnings. Over time, Andrew began to trust Laura more. They started spending more time together, not just during exercise sessions, but also talking and sharing everyday moments. Laura would tell him about her life before prison, her dreams and hopes. Andrew, in turn, would talk about his ambitions before the accident and how everything had changed so suddenly. One day, while practicing yoga, Laura noticed that Andrew was particularly focused. "You're improving a lot, Andrew. Your flexibility and strength are increasing," she commented with a smile. Andrew smiled shyly. "Thanks to you. I never thought something like yoga could help me so much," he admitted. Laura sat next to him and looked at him seriously. "Andrew, I want you to know that you are much stronger than you think. You have incredible determination, and that's what will take you far. not just in your physical recovery, but also in your life," she said with conviction. Andrew looked at her, his eyes reflecting gratitude and something deeper, a spark of hope that she hadn't seen in him before. "Thank you, Laura. I don't know what I would do without you," he responded sincerely. The relationship between Laura and Andrew grew stronger day by day. Although there were still moments of frustration and pain, there were also laughter and small victories. Laura knew that the road to complete recovery would be long, but she was willing to walk it alongside Andrew. One afternoon, as they sat in the garden, enjoying the tranquility, Andrew took Laura's hand. "Laura, I've been thinking a lot. You've given me more than just physical care. You've given me hope, and for that, I want you to know that I will always be grateful," he said with a warm smile. Laura felt a surge of emotion and squeezed his hand. "And I will always be here for you, Andrew. Together we can overcome anything," she responded. Over time, Laura and Andrew not only became caregiver and patient, but friends, trusting and supporting each other every step of the way. The Lopez mansion, which at first had seemed like a place of despair for Andrew, was transforming into a haven of healing and new beginnings. The routine at the Lopez mansion continued, and over time, Laura and Andrew found a comfortable rhythm in their daily lives. The exercise sessions became more intense and productive, and the conversations between them grew deeper and more sincere. One afternoon, while taking a break in the garden after a particularly exhausting session, Andrew broke the silence. "Laura, there's something I've been wanting to tell you, something about my accident that I haven't shared with anyone," he said, looking intently at the horizon. Laura watched him closely, noticing the seriousness in his tone. "You can tell me anything." "Andrew, I'm here to listen," she responded softly. Andrew took a deep breath before continuing. "That night of the accident, we weren't just drinking. There were many things wrong in my life. I was struggling with the pressure of being the perfect son, living up to my father's expectations. I felt like I always had to prove something, and that night I just let go," he confessed, his voice filled with pain. Laura nodded, understanding the burden Andrew had been carrying. "It's understandable, Andrew. We all make mistakes and carry burdens that sometimes seem too heavy. The important thing is how we decide to move forward and learn from those difficult moments," she said with empathy. Andrew looked at her, a mix of gratitude and sadness in his eyes. "Thank you, Laura. Talking to you always makes me feel better, lighter," he admitted. Laura smiled, happy to be a support for him. "I'm here to help you carry those burdens, Andrew. Together we can find a way to move forward," she assured. That same afternoon, as Laura helped Andrew back to his room, he asked her a question that took her by surprise. "Laura, what really happened with Diego? You never told me the whole story," he said, looking at her with curiosity. Laura paused for a moment, surprised by the question. She sighed and decided it was time to share her truth. "Diego and I met when I was working as a nurse. At first, he seemed like a good person, someone I could trust. But over time, I realized he was involved in shady things. One day, he used the keys I had from my patients' houses to rob several apartments. When he was caught, he blamed me, saying I was the mastermind behind the thefts. I was judged and unjustly convicted," she recounted with a trembling voice. Andrew listened attentively, his expression darkening as he heard what Laura had been through. "That's terrible, Laura. You didn't deserve to go through that," he said sincerely. Laura nodded, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. "It was very hard, but it also taught me many lessons. In prison, I met a woman named Elena who became my mentor. She helped me find strength within myself that I didn't know I had, and now I'm here, trying to build a new life," she said, trying to stay positive. Andrew took Laura's hand, squeezing it firmly. "You're incredibly strong, Laura, and I'm grateful to have you here," he said with a smile. Over time, Laura and Andrew continued sharing their stories and supporting each other. The trust and respect between them grew, creating a strong and meaningful bond. One night, while they were in the garden under the starry sky, Andrew spoke of his dreams and ambitions before the accident. "I wanted to be a professional athlete, but now I feel like I've lost that dream," he said with a sigh. Laura looked at him determinedly. "It's never too late to find new dreams, Andrew. Maybe you can't be an athlete in the same way as before, but that doesn't mean you can't have a full and meaningful life. We can find new goals together," she said with conviction. Andrew watched her, feeling a spark of hope that had been absent for a long time. "You're right, Laura. Thank you for believing in me," he said with a smile. As the days went by, Laura and Andrew began exploring new possibilities and activities. They tried different exercises and therapies, and Laura introduced Andrew to the idea of getting involved in volunteer activities, helping others who were also facing challenges. With each small success, Andrew began to regain his sense of purpose and self-esteem. And while helping Andrew heal, Laura also found her own path to redemption. The Lopez mansion, once a place of sadness and despair, was transforming into a home full of possibilities and new beginnings. Laura and Andrew, united by their stories of pain and overcoming, were ready to face any challenge the future held for them. Laura woke up early, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today was the day she and Andrew would visit the property her mother had left her in her will. She had spoken with the lawyer, Roberto White, and had arranged everything for the visit. It was an important step, not only for Laura but also for Andrew, who had shown interest in the project. After breakfast, Laura went to find Andrew in his room. "Good morning, Andrew. Ready for our adventure today?" she said with a smile. Andrew, who seemed more animated than usual, nodded. "Yes, I'm ready. I'm curious to see the property. Besides, it will be good to get out of the mansion for a while," he replied, trying to hide his enthusiasm. Laura and Andrew headed to the car, where Mrs. Johnson had prepared a picnic for them to take along. With everything ready, they set off towards the property. The 2-hour drive gave them time to talk and enjoy the rural scenery. "Do you know anything else about the property?" Andrew asked while looking out the window. "Not much. The lawyer said it's a small country house surrounded by nature. My mother never talked about it, so it will be a surprise for both of us," Laura replied. When they finally arrived, Laura and Andrew were impressed by the beauty of the place. The property was situated in a valley surrounded by green hills and lush forests. The house, although modest, had a rustic charm that made them feel at home immediately. Laura smiled, feeling a special connection with her mother. "Yes, she did. I'm sure this place has great potential," she said, looking at the house with dreamy eyes. Laura and Andrew explored the property, discovering a small stream running near the house and a garden that, although neglected, showed signs of having once been very well cared for. Laura could imagine her mother working in the garden, tending to the flowers and plants with care. After exploring, they sat at a picnic table that Mrs. Johnson had prepared. While eating, they discussed their plans for the property. "We could turn this place into a refuge for people who need a fresh start, like ex-convicts and people with disabilities. It could be a place of healing and growth," Laura suggested. Andrew nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, that sounds amazing. We could offer physical and emotional therapy, outdoor activities, and a safe space for people to rebuild their lives. I could help with the physical part, and you with the emotional support," he added. Laura felt inspired by Andrew's vision. Together, they began to elaborate on a more detailed plan, discussing ideas and resources they would need to make their dream a reality. "We could look for volunteers and donations. Maybe even some local businesses would be interested in supporting our project," Laura suggested. "And we could organize events to raise funds and create awareness about our mission. I think this place could be something really special," Andrew added. As the sun began to set, Laura and Andrew sat on the porch of the house, enjoying the tranquility of the place. They had spent a productive and inspiring day, and both felt closer than ever. "Thank you for coming with me today, Andrew. It means a lot to me to have you here," Laura said, looking at the horizon. "Thank you, Laura. This place gives me hope. I think we can do something great here," Andrew responded with a smile. Back at the mansion, Laura and Andrew shared their plans with Daniel Lopez, who showed great interest and willingness to support the project. "I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm proud of both of you for wanting to make a difference in people's lives. Count on my support for whatever you need," Daniel said, filling Laura and Andrew with motivation. With each passing day, they got closer to making their vision a reality, discovering that the true power of healing lay in compassion, perseverance, and shared love. The following weeks were filled with activity and enthusiasm. Laura and Andrew worked tirelessly to prepare the inherited property and turn it into the refuge they had dreamed of. With the support of Daniel Lopez and Mrs. Johnson, they began to plan and organize the necessary resources for the renovation. Each day, Laura and Andrew traveled to the property, dedicating long hours to cleaning, repairing, and beautifying the house and garden. They hired a team of local builders to help with the larger repairs and also sought volunteers from the community to support their efforts. "Andrew, look at how the garden is coming along. I can already imagine it filled with flowers and medicinal plants," Laura said as she planted new seeds in the fertile soil. "It's looking amazing, Laura. I'm excited to see how everything takes shape," Andrew responded, working on installing a wheelchair ramp next to the house entrance. As the days progressed, more people from the community began to show interest in the project. Some offered material donations, and others joined as volunteers to help with the construction and design of the refuge. One afternoon, while resting on the porch after a long day of work, Laura and Andrew discussed the name of the refuge. "I think we should call it New Hope," Laura suggested. "It represents what we want to offer the people who come here, a new chance and hope for their lives." Andrew nodded, smiling. "I love that name. It's perfect for what we're creating here," he said with a sparkle of enthusiasm in his eyes. With the name decided, they began designing the logo and planning the official inauguration. They wanted it to be a special event where they could invite the community, their friends, and those who had supported their vision from the beginning. As the inauguration date approached, Laura and Andrew felt more and more excited. The house was almost ready, and the garden was beginning to bloom, showing the first signs of life and color. They had worked hard to transform the place and were proud of what they had achieved together. The day of the inauguration arrived with a clear, sunny sky. Laura and Andrew got up early, finalizing details and preparing the house to welcome guests. Mrs. Johnson and Daniel Lopez were also there, helping with the preparations and showing their unconditional support. "I'm so proud of you two. You've done an incredible job here," Daniel said, hugging Laura and Andrew. "Thank you, Dad. We couldn't have done it without your support," Andrew replied gratefully. Guests began to arrive, and soon the garden was filled with people celebrating the opening of New Hope. Laura and Andrew welcomed everyone, sharing the story of how they had gotten there and their plans for the future. During the event, Laura took the microphone to address the guests. "Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being here with us today. This project has been a dream come true for Andrew and me. We want New Hope to be a place where people can find refuge, healing, and a new opportunity in life. We deeply appreciate the support of our community and everyone who has contributed to making this possible," she said emotionally. Andrew also spoke from the heart. "I have been through very dark times in my life, but thanks to Laura and all of you, I have found a new purpose. New Hope is not just a physical refuge, but also a place of personal growth and transformation. We are excited about what the future holds and the lives we can impact together," he said, receiving applause and words of encouragement from the attendees. The inauguration was a resounding success. People explored the property, enjoyed the food and drinks prepared by Mrs. Johnson, and marveled at the transformation of the place. Many volunteered for future projects and activities, excited to be part of something so meaningful. That night, after the last guests had left, Laura and Andrew sat on the porch, watching the stars. "We did it, Andrew. New hope is a reality," Laura said, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. "Yes, we did it, and this is just the beginning. There's so much more we can do, and so many lives we can change," Andrew responded, taking Laura's hand. With the inauguration of New Hope behind them, Laura and Andrew immersed themselves in the daily work of the refuge. Each day brought new challenges and opportunities to help people who came seeking support and healing. Meanwhile, the relationship between Laura and Andrew continued to strengthen, forged by their shared dedication and the experiences they lived together. One morning, while they were doing their daily exercise routine in the garden, Laura noticed a significant change in Andrew. His movements were more fluid and his energy more positive. "You're making incredible progress, Andrew. Every day I see you stronger and more confident," Laura said with a smile. Andrew, sweating but with a look of satisfaction, nodded. "Thank you, Laura. I couldn't have gotten this far without you. You've been a huge part of my recovery," he responded, looking at her with gratitude. Laura felt emotional seeing how much Andrew had advanced. She remembered the days when he could barely move and his attitude was somber and defeatist. Now, she saw a man who was regaining his physical strength and spirit. Later that day, Andrew had a therapy session with one of the new volunteer physiotherapists who had joined the New Hope team. Laura decided to watch from a distance to see how it unfolded. "Very well, Andrew. Today we're going to work on your balance and coordination," said the physiotherapist as he prepared the equipment. Andrew followed the instructions with determination, completing each exercise with focus and effort. Laura noticed how his muscles responded better and his posture looked more stable. After the session, the physical therapist approached Laura. "Andrew is progressing very well. He has an impressive inner strength and a great will to improve. At this pace, I'm sure he will continue to advance," the therapist commented with a smile. Laura felt proud and grateful for the support and dedication of the New Hope team. She knew that not only was Andrew changing, but she was also transforming herself. Working at the shelter had given her a new perspective and a renewed purpose. That night, while dining in the mansion's dining room, Laura decided to talk to Andrew about something she had been thinking. "Andrew, I've noticed that you are much more confident and that your strength has improved considerably. Have you thought about what you'd like to do in the long run?" she asked. Andrew looked at her, reflecting for a moment. "I've been thinking about that, actually. I've always wanted to help others, and now, after everything I've been through, I believe I have a new understanding of what it means to overcome challenges. I'd like to study to become a physical therapist or counselor to help others in situations similar to mine," he replied with a smile. Laura felt a surge of emotion and pride. "That sounds amazing, Andrew. I think you would be a wonderful therapist or counselor. You have the experience and empathy needed to make a real difference in people's lives," she said enthusiastically. "Thank you, Laura. You've shown me what's possible and given me the strength to keep going. I want to do the same for others," Andrew responded, his voice full of conviction. The days continued to be filled with work and progress at New Hope. Laura and Andrew became a formidable team, inspiring the volunteers and the people who came to the shelter. Every success story and every small advance were reasons for celebration and hope. One weekend, they organized a community event at New Hope to raise funds and increase awareness of their mission. They invited the community, local media, and other organizations to learn about the work they were doing and how they could contribute. During the event, Andrew took the stage to share his story. He spoke about his accident, his struggle, and his recovery, and how New Hope and Laura had helped him find a new purpose. "This place has not only helped me regain my physical strength, but also find a new purpose in life. I want to thank everyone who has supported this initiative and Laura, who has been my guide and inspiration," Andrew said, receiving a standing ovation from the audience. Laura, moved, joined him on stage. Andrew is a living example of what perseverance, love, and support can achieve. We are very proud of him and everyone who is part of New Hope. Together we can make a big difference in many people's lives, she said, looking at Andrew with a smile of complicity. The event was a resounding success, raising significant funds and attracting the attention of new people interested in supporting their cause. Laura and Andrew felt more motivated than ever to continue their work. That night, while gazing at the stars from the porch, Laura felt a deep sense of satisfaction and peace. She knew she had found her purpose and that together with Andrew, they could face any challenge that came their way. "We're achieving incredible things, Andrew, and this is just the beginning," said Laura, taking Andrew's hand. "Yes, it is. Together we can do anything," Andrew responded, squeezing her hand firmly. Life at New Hope had become a routine full of gratifying work and moments of joy. Laura and Andrew dedicated themselves passionately to their project, seeing how more and more people benefited from their effort and dedication every day. However, amidst all the work, a deeper connection was blossoming between them. One afternoon, while resting after a long day's work, Andrew decided it was time to talk about what he felt. They had shared so many experiences and overcome so many challenges together that he could no longer hide his feelings. "Laura, there's something I need to tell you," Andrew began with a serious but emotional tone. Laura looked at him, feeling a mix of curiosity and nervousness. "Tell me, Andrew. You can tell me anything," she responded softly. Andrew took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "Laura, since you came into my life, everything has changed for the better. You have been my support, my guide, and my inspiration. Thanks to you, I have found a new reason to live and fight, and in the process, I've realized that I love you. I love you more than I ever thought possible," he confessed, looking directly into her eyes. Laura felt a wave of emotions upon hearing his words. She knew she had developed deep feelings for Andrew, but hearing that he felt the same filled her with indescribable happiness. "Andrew, I love you too. You have been a fundamental part of my life, and together we have created something beautiful. I can't imagine my life without you," she responded, tears of joy in her eyes. Andrew smiled, feeling an immense sense of relief and happiness. He moved closer to Laura and hugged her, feeling that for the first time in a long time, everything in his life was in its place. The following days were filled with new energy and purpose. Laura and Andrew, now not only as partners in their mission but also as a couple, felt stronger and more united than ever. They continued working at New Hope but also began planning their future together. One weekend, they decided to take a day off and visit the country house Laura had inherited. They wanted to spend some time alone, away from the bustle of the shelter, and enjoy the tranquility and beauty of nature. As they walked through the trails and explored the garden, they talked about their dreams and plans. "I'd love to live here someday, Andrew. This place has a peace and beauty that makes me feel connected to my mother and to life itself," said Laura, looking at the flowers that had begun to bloom. "I feel the same way, Laura. We can make this place our home and continue helping people from here. It would be a dream come true," Andrew responded, taking her hand. That night, while looking at the stars from the porch, Andrew felt it was the perfect moment to take another step in their relationship. "Laura, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, not just as partners in New Hope, but as a couple, as a family. "Will you marry me?" he asked, pulling out a small ring he had been saving. Laura felt her heart fill with overwhelming happiness. Without hesitation, she nodded and replied, "Yes, Andrew. Yes, I want to marry you and build a life together," she said, tears of joy running down her cheeks. They embraced, feeling the immense happiness and love they shared. They knew that their journey together would not always be easy, but they were ready to face any challenge with mutual support and the strength of their love. The news of their engagement was met with joy and celebration at New Hope. The volunteers and community members came together to organize a surprise party full of laughter and good wishes. That night, while celebrating with their friends and loved ones, Laura and Andrew felt more certain than ever of their decision. Their love and commitment were not only a testament to their relationship, but also to the transformation and hope that New Hope had brought to their lives and to the lives of so many others. The news of Laura and Andrew's engagement filled New Hope with special joy. The couple immersed themselves in the wedding preparations while continuing their work at the shelter. However, planning the wedding was not without challenges and difficult decisions. One morning, while having coffee in the kitchen, Laura and Andrew started discussing the event details. "I was thinking we could have the wedding here on the property, in the garden. It's a significant place for us and for everyone who has been part of New Hope," Laura suggested, looking at Andrew with a smile. "That sounds wonderful. This place has a special meaning for us, and it would be perfect for our wedding," Andrew responded, taking her hand. They decided that the ceremony would be intimate, with close friends, family, and the volunteers of New Hope. Laura and Andrew wanted it to be an event filled with love and gratitude, a celebration of everything they had overcome together. However, as they planned the wedding, some challenges arose. The news of their engagement and wedding plans attracted the attention of local media. Some journalists began investigating Laura's past, which generated rumors and comments in the community. One afternoon, while reviewing the wedding details, Laura received a call from one of the journalists. "Mrs. Smith, we've received information about your past in prison. Could you comment on how that affects your work at New Hope and your relationship with Andrew?" The journalist asked in an insidious tone. Laura felt disturbed by the question but remained calm. "My past is part of my story, but it doesn't define who I am today. I've worked hard to rebuild my life and help others do the same. Andrew and I are committed to continuing our mission at New Hope, and nothing will change that," she replied firmly. After hanging up, Laura felt anxious and worried about how these rumors could affect her life and work. "Andrew, the media are starting to investigate my past. I don't want this to affect us or New Hope," Laura said, feeling a mix of fear and frustration. Andrew took her hand and looked at her with determination. "Laura, we won't let this affect us. Your past doesn't define who you are today. You're a strong and compassionate woman who has transformed her life and many others. We will face this together, as we always have," he said with conviction. They decided to call a meeting with the volunteers and community members to openly talk about the situation. They wanted to make sure everyone understood their story and the purpose behind New Hope. "Dear friends, we've received news that some journalists are investigating my past. I want to be completely honest with you. Yes, I was unjustly convicted and spent time in prison, but I've worked hard to redeem myself and help others do the same. Andrew and I are dedicated to New Hope, and nothing will change that. Your support means the world to us," Laura said, looking at the audience sincerely. The volunteers and community responded with applause and words of encouragement. They had seen the positive impact Laura and Andrew had made in their lives and were determined to support them. "Laura, we're with you. We know how much you've done for all of us, and we won't let this affect you," said one of the volunteers, standing up to hug her. With renewed support from their community, Laura and Andrew continued with the wedding preparations. They decided to hire a local wedding planner to help with the details and ensure everything was perfect for the big day. As the wedding date approached, Laura and Andrew also focused on strengthening their relationship and mutual commitment. They spent more time together, talking about their dreams and plans for the future and working on special projects for New Hope. One afternoon, while walking through the garden, Andrew took Laura's hand and led her to a small corner they had decorated with flowers and lights. "Laura, this place means so much to us. Here we have worked, dreamed, and built something beautiful. I want you to know that no matter what happens, I'll always be by your side. You are my love, my partner, and my inspiration," Andrew said, looking at her with love. "And you are my strength, Andrew. Together we have overcome so much and will continue to do so. I love you, and I'm excited about our future together," Laura responded, hugging him tightly. Finally, the wedding day arrived. The garden at New Hope was beautifully decorated with colorful flowers, soft lights, and a magical atmosphere. Guests began to arrive, filling the place with laughter and congratulations. Laura, dressed in a beautiful white gown, walked toward the altar, accompanied by Daniel Lopez, who had become a father figure to her. "I'm very proud of you, Laura. You've achieved so much, and I'm honored to be here today," said Daniel emotionally. "Thank you, Daniel. You've been a great support for us," Laura responded, tears of gratitude in her eyes. Andrew waited for her at the altar, his face reflecting love and admiration. When Laura reached his side, they took each other's hands and looked into each other's eyes, feeling the depth of their connection. The officiant began the ceremony, speaking about love, perseverance, and the importance of being united in difficult times. Laura and Andrew exchanged heartfelt vows, promising unconditional love and support. "Laura, I promise to love you, respect you, and support you in all moments of our life together. You are my light and my hope, and I'll always be by your side," Andrew said, his voice full of emotion. "Andrew, I promise to love you, respect you, and walk by your side every step of our way. You are my strength and my inspiration, and together we are invincible," Laura responded, with tears of happiness. After the vows, the officiant declared Laura and Andrew husband and wife. The couple kissed, sealing their love and commitment while the guests applauded and celebrated. The reception was a joyful celebration, full of music, dancing, and emotional speeches. Friends and family shared stories and memories, toasting to Laura and Andrew's happiness and future. That night, as they retired to their room, Laura and Andrew sat on the porch, contemplating the stars. "Today has been perfect, Andrew. I couldn't have imagined a more beautiful day," Laura said, resting her head on his shoulder. "Yes, it's been incredible, and the best part is that this is just the beginning of our life together. There's so much to do, and so much to discover," Andrew responded, hugging her tenderly. Together, they continued to build their dream of New Hope, knowing that their love was the solid foundation upon which they could create a future full of possibilities and happiness. The morning sun illuminated New Hope with a special glow, reflecting the joy and love that filled the place. Laura and Andrew, newlyweds, woke up with a sense of renewal and purpose. Life had given them a second chance, and they were determined to make the most of it. In the months following their wedding, the shelter flourished even more. Laura and Andrew worked tirelessly to provide a healing and growth environment for everyone who came to New Hope. Every success story and every recovered smile were a testament to the dedication and love they had invested in the project. One afternoon, while Laura and Andrew strolled through the garden, they reflected on all they had achieved and learned on their journey together. "We've come a long way, Andrew. From our personal struggles to building this beautiful shelter, every step has been a life lesson," Laura said, looking at the flowers blooming around them. "Yes, Laura. And I think the most important lesson is that no matter how dark the path seems, there is always hope if we are willing to fight for it. "Our story is a testament to the strength of love and resilience," Andrew responded, taking her hand. Laura nodded, feeling deep gratitude for everything they had overcome. She remembered the days in prison, the struggles to find work, and how she had found strength amid adversity, thanks to people like Elena. Now, she was using that strength to help others. "We've learned that the past does not define us. What really matters is how we choose to move forward and what we do with our experiences," Laura said with conviction. Andrew smiled, remembering his own journey of recovery and transformation. "Exactly. I've learned that although we face challenges and losses, we can always find a way to turn our pain into something positive. And with the right support, we can overcome anything," he added. They decided to share these reflections with the volunteers and residents of New Hope at a special meeting. They wanted everyone to understand that each of them had the power to transform their lives, no matter how difficult the circumstances. During the meeting, Laura and Andrew addressed the audience, sharing their journey and the lessons they had learned. "Dear friends, today we want to remind you that each of you has incredible strength within. No matter where you come from or what challenges you face, there is always a way to find hope and create a better future," Laura said, looking at the attentive faces. "Our story is an example that with love, support, and perseverance, we can overcome any obstacle. New Hope is not just a physical place, but a symbol of the possibility of a new beginning for everyone," Andrew added. The audience applauded, and some shared their own stories of struggle and overcoming. The meeting turned into a celebration of human resilience and the power of community. That night, after the meeting, Laura and Andrew sat on their porch, enjoying the tranquility of the place. "I feel we have fulfilled our purpose, Andrew. We have created something beautiful that will continue helping many people," Laura said, looking at the stars. "Yes, Laura. And the best part is that this is just the beginning. New Hope will continue to grow and change lives, thanks to all who believe in our vision," Andrew responded, hugging her. Laura and Andrew's story was not only one of love and personal overcoming, but also a powerful lesson about the importance of resilience, unconditional love, and the ability to turn pain into strength. They had learned that although life presented challenges and dark moments, there was always light at the end of the tunnel if they were willing to seek it and work together to reach it. Laura's journey from the confines of a prison cell to becoming a beacon of hope and leadership at New Hope powerfully demonstrated that one's past does not have to determine one's future. The unyielding strength and unwavering support she received from compassionate individuals like Elena and Andrew were pivotal in her transformation. They helped her not only rebuild her own shattered life, but also empowered her to inspire countless others to rise above their own challenges. For Andrew, his profound personal tragedies became a crucible for change. He learned that his suffering did not have to be his defining story. Through the boundless love, unwavering support, and sheer determination he found, Andrew was able to transform his pain into a powerful mission of healing and assistance for others. His journey was a testament to the transformative power of compassion and resilience. Over time, New Hope emerged as a radiant symbol of renewal and endless possibilities. It became a sanctuary for those yearning for a fresh start, attracting people from far and wide who sought to rewrite their own narratives. Laura and Andrew continued to work together, their bond strengthened by the profound lessons they had learned and the unbreakable power of love and compassion. Their story evolved into a powerful source of inspiration for all who heard it, a story of love, redemption, and the astonishing human capacity to find light in even the darkest moments. Their journey demonstrated unequivocally that with unwavering hope and relentless perseverance, anything is possible. Thank you for joining us on Laura and Andrew's profound journey of redemption, healing, and hope. Their story has shown us the incredible power of resilience, the importance of support, and the transformative impact of compassion. As you reflect on their experiences, we encourage you to think about what you've learned from their journey. What is one lesson or insight that you will bring into your own life? Please share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your engagement and support help us continue to share these inspiring stories. See you in the next video. Goodbye.